What's up guys, it's Zyger here. You know, I think we're living through a second golden age of RPGs because so many of the greatest RPGs of the past that we grew up with are now getting really great remakes that not only bring them to a new audience, but draw us back to experience them once again. So I wanted to put together this video of my top 5 RPG remakes of all time. And I was convinced to do this because I really enjoyed the experience of making and the reception of my top 5 RPG remasters video, which is posted on the channel. So the only ground rule here is it has to be a remake and it has to be marketed as such. Usually these games involve graphic or visual or interface or audio overhauls, and that's what will be considered in this top 5 list. But before I get into it, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know a comment down below giving me your favorite RPG remake of all time. For my 5th favorite RPG remake of all time, I'm going with Super Mario RPG. Now this one came out only a few years ago, but they really did a lot of great things with this, including a complete graphics overhaul that creates real-time 3D graphics and kind of preserves the toy-like charm of the original. They also added cinematic cutscenes that introduce important elements from the story into the game. And Yoko Shimomura returned to revamp the entire soundtrack. It's including a full orchestra now, and this was just a really great touch that enhanced the original music. I can't get enough of it. It essentially got the same treatment as the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. They also added really cool stuff like party swapping. You can swap between characters mid-battle. There's a breezy mode for easier adventurers to get through the game. And there's triple moves. There was no such mechanic in the original game, but in Super Mario RPG Remake, you're able to combine the attacks from 3 different party members to unleash huge damage attacks, and it's so cool. There's also other cool things like autosave. There's a quick menu, and there's hidden treasure detection, and quite a few other bells and whistles that just complete the experience. Super Mario RPG Remake also adds special bonus post-game content, such as the ability to face off against the old bosses in new and improved forms, and by beating them you got cool new rewards like equipment and weapons. So this was another challenge that they added, which was really nice too. They also added explanation points to make it easier to pull off the timed attacks. This helped a lot of players that didn't really understand that feature. As far as I'm concerned, Super Mario RPG was one of the best North American RPGs on the SNES, and this brought it back in an admirable form. I think they did a really good job here. If I was to have one critique, it's that the graphics look a little bit too kiddie for me compared to the original. I really like the bright, vibrant colors in the original, but still a really good look. It makes sense for the canon, for the story, and for what they were going for, which is a combination between kind of the Final Fantasy experience from Square, it's Squaresoft at that time, and Nintendo's premier action game, Super Mario Bros. So this was a great game, great remake to create, and it really, won over a lot of probably new fans that hadn't seen this game before because they're coming from like the Mario universe. So Super Mario RPG Remake is a really, really fantastic remake that's definitely worth playing. The 4th greatest RPG remake of all time in my mind is Ys, the Othin Felghana. This is a super innovative and interesting action RPG that totally flew under the radar when it first came out. It was originally created as a reimagining of Ys 3, which came out on the Super NES, and I have covered that game on my channel. And that was a lot different because that was kind of styled in the manner of Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. It was essentially a side-scrolling action game with some RPG elements. But Ys the Othin Felghana totally reinvents it and makes it a top-down action RPG where you control Adol. The story revolves around Adol and his best friend Doji, who go to the land of Felghana, which is Doji's hometown, because of rumors of mysterious happenings there. And the story essentially takes off from there, but the gameplay is what really shines in this game. This is a very interesting game because it really combines what we like about action games with games like Secret of Mana, action RPGs where you level up, you progress in strength, and you take kind of a lead role in the action gameplay. Where the original Ys 3 was short and super linear, this is a much longer story with a traversable overworld, there is puzzle-filled dungeons, and there's even some Metroidvania-style elements like requiring specific items like the double jump to progress at certain points. It's also based on sword combat with combos, and you use magic bracelets that are kind of elemental-oriented to boost yourself and defeat enemies in battle. The graphical quality is really nice too. It's not cheesy or over the top, but it really is in the style of the classic RPGs that we know and love. And in the Oath and Felghana version, there's also upgraded music that is in the orchestral style. It really sounds great in this version. Also, the Oath of Felghana version expands the plot, there's more scenes, there's also adjustable difficulty levels in this game, and you also get side quests and a new game plus mode. So this is the definitive way to play it. There just recently, a few months ago, was released a memoir version of the game for modern platforms, and that adds voice acting to the main character in addition to upgraded portraits, and I think it looks really great. Again, this is a super underrated game that really flew under the radar, and the series in general flew under the radar. There's so many people that have never really been able to experience Ys, and this is a great launching point for it, so absolutely check out Ys, the Oath and Felghana. I think the third greatest RPG remake of all time is Star Ocean: The Second Story R. This one only came out a few years ago in 2023, but Star Ocean: The Second Story was already generally thought of by the fan base as the best Star Ocean game ever, and Square Enix improved it drastically here with the help of Gem Drop Studio. They completely revamped this game in an HD 2D feel instead of the pre-rendered 2D backgrounds and 2D sprites that the original had. This one gets the Octopath Traveler treatment, and it looks so good. Also, the overworld was redesigned, and the game is just so much more polished in this new graphical style. As far as the game itself, it's fantastic. It really exemplifies what we loved about the Star Ocean series. You had item creation, you had leveling up to 255, the awesome bonus dungeon at the end of the game with the best weapons and armor. That was a really big challenge, by the way. You had awesome characters with voice-acted gameplay in combat. This game gives you voice acting in general for the main story, and also I just love the fact that this game presents you with the opportunity to go different paths as far as which characters you recruit. I really liked to recruit Oprah and Ernest. Those are two characters in the game that you didn't have to get, and there were branching paths, so if you recruited some characters, you wouldn't be able to have the opportunity for others. This kind of, to me, increased the replay value and made each and every playthrough that much more special. Star Ocean: The Second Story R also gives you so much more that wasn't in the original version, including new character artwork, which looks really great, completely redesigned portraits that aren't cheesy. You also get additional cutscenes, and the voice acting is on point. And maybe the best part of this entire remake is that Star Ocean series composer Motoi Sakuraba rejoined to re-orchestrate the soundtrack, and man, it sounds great. It really got the Super Mario RPG and Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster treatment here. Every song sounds like a work of art. It's really incredible how much work was poured into the soundtrack. You have to hear it. The original translation was brushed up a bit, so there's a better localization now, and it's just the complete package. This is one that RPG fans point to as a remake that was done well, and I have to agree with that. And the number 2 greatest RPG remake ever is Live Alive. This one is also a relatively new remake, and when they first announced it, it absolutely blew me away because Live Alive was, up until that point, a Japan exclusive on the Super Famicom. It was a Squaresoft RPG from back in the day, 1994, right in the heart of the golden age of RPGs that was a chapter by chapter based RPG experience. You had kind of a ninja in the past, you had a cube in the distant future, a Old West chapter with the Sundown Kid. There was so much great contrast between each chapter, and the story was truly unique because you played out each chapter, and then there would be a final chapter with Oersted in the Middle Ages. That one was my favorite, by the way. And then there was such a unique twist in the very end because this game had one of the craziest and most surprises ever for an RPG, and if you played through this one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But what was so cool about Live Alive is they gave it the HD 2D treatment, made it look kind of like Octopath Traveler, but this implementation of HD 2D might be the best ever. The colors are just absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. Just take a look at this, the Oboromaru chapter, with these just vibrant, beautiful colors that really put you into the scenes and make you feel like you're a part of it. The dialogue was really interesting, it was fun to follow along with the characters and their motivations, and the whole story experience was just done very well. Also notable here is they completely redid the soundtrack in a new orchestrated way. Yoko Shimomura is back here, and the SNES soundtrack of Live Alive was one of my favorite on the entire system, so you know I love this one too. They did a fantastic job on it. The combat in Live Alive is really awesome too, and honestly, I still don't think it's been surpassed in terms of its actual creativity. Because this one blended what we loved about the grid-based tactical RPGs with a typical kind of turn-based formula that you'd find in Final Fantasy. There was spacing that determined what kind of attacks you could use, and a lot more strategy went into the battles than you saw in a lot of other RPGs, and I really appreciated that about Live Alive. So yeah, too many people missed out on Live Alive back in the day, but Square Enix rectified that. Get the Live Alive remake, you will not regret it. And my number one favorite RPG remake of all time is Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. And wow, did Square Enix just knock this one out of the park because it's a complete masterpiece. They took everything that was great about Dragon Quest III, my personal favorite one originally on the NES, and just made it so much better. It utilized HD 2D graphics in a way that brought the nostalgia back without making it a completely different experience. Most of the towns and kind of areas in the game, the maps, the dungeons were mostly echoed off of that original version. They didn't really change so much here and there in terms of the actual experience, just the graphics. And the overworld is so much bigger, there's a lot more exploration, there are some new hidden areas and a few new items you can pick up, and the battle perspective is slightly different because when you choose your commands you actually see the characters standing there. The whole thing is voice acted in terms of the actual main part of the story, which they did expand a little bit. They kept it to generally the same, but some purists may have an issue with, them doing that, but I thought it fit well, and they didn't really change the base story at all. Also, there's 3 difficulty options, and this was a pretty tough game, so I think that was a good decision to allow a lot of different kinds of fans to experience it for the first time. And there are several new classes that you can choose from and a lot more abilities. And again, some purists might not like that. I loved it just because of the fact that it made it much more customizable, and the classes that didn't really have skills or abilities were now able to use them. And they really nailed the music here because this reorchestrated soundtrack is absolutely off the charts. Square Enix took those memorable melodies that we remember in our youth growing up playing Dragon Quest III and brought them into their final form, and it is amazing. And I love the music so much that I would even stay in particular areas just to hear the track conclude and just to recollect that nostalgia that I remember from the past. Several other features made this game a real joy to play too, like the ability to customize the look of your party and change their sexes and appearances, and also the mini-map made navigation much easier. They also changed the spell system slightly so it was much easier to transport yourself from one area to the others. But Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake is so much more than even what I've already said. It's hard for me to even express verbally, you really just have to play it. It is the absolute gold standard that all other RPG remakes should be compared to. Great job, Square Enix. Please make more games like this, including Dragon Quest 4 through 6 in a similar style. So there it is. That's my list. I think I can live with it, and I think I can sleep at night knowing that these are my top 5 RPG remakes of all time. And don't get me wrong, this was a tough list to make. A few really great games narrowly missed the cut, but I'm sticking to this list. But still, I want to hear from you, so let me know down below in a comment, what is your favorite RPG remake of all time? And until I see you next time, take it easy.